Time for the 49ers Rush Podcast.
Coming in at number 59 on the 49ers roster countdown of 2023 is none other, it's just initials, baby, DFF, Demetrius Flannigan Fowles out of Arizona, the special teams ace. Now, last year, he came in at number 43. This year, 59. Quite a drop. Now, I think he's making the 53-man roster. I really, really do. And once we get into the contract, I think you'll see why I believe that. But the reason why I had him fall from 43 to 59 is because I don't even consider him a linebacker anymore. I know that's the position he plays. But he had a couple opportunities to come into games last year as that number 3 linebacker, as that will linebacker, and just did not perform well. Now, led the team in special teams tackles. Awesome. Got Pro Bowl votes as a special teams specialist. He belongs in the NFL. I just don't think that he really has a position on the defensive side of the ball. So it's, he's a special teams ace. And that's not an insult. It's just, it's kind of hard to push up, him in the roster rankings whenever I don't think that he's going to get any defensive snaps at all. Now, shout out to Josh, the 49ers guru, for putting all this research together. So DFF comes in. He wears jersey number 45 for the 49ers, 6'2", 225. He was a safety. And you kind of look at his height and weight and all those things, like pretty identical to Miles Hartsfield, who we just did an episode on, but a little bit slower, a little bit thicker. 6'2", 225. That is so small for a linebacker. I understand the transition that's taking place at the linebacker position in the NFL, but it's just a little too much for DFF. He's 26 years old. He ran a 4.58 40-yard dash, not bad. 34.5-inch vertical, all right. 10-3 broad jump, that's great. 15 bench press reps, and he's going into, this is where the NFL gets a little tricky. It's his 5th season out of college. He's been with the 49ers for 5 years, but technically it's only his 4th year accrued season because he didn't play in 2019, so that didn't count for him. So this is, it's kind of a whole weird thing because if you don't play, your contract tolls to the following year. Now, he went to Mountain View High School in Arizona, eventually chose to go to the Wildcats in Arizona. 3-star recruit coming out of high school, graduated with a general studies degree, and, man, he's just a positive person on and off the field. Was self-proclaimed labeled, a mama's boy growing up and would regularly have dates with mom. Love to see that. Began playing football at the age of 6. His uncle signed him up for flag football, and all throughout his journey, safety was the prominent position that everybody just assumed that's what he was going to be. Safety and wide receiver whenever he was in high school. As a junior, he played some defensive end and was all Southern Arizona first-team selection, which is awesome. Athleticism's always been there. He goes to Arizona, played 13 games as a true freshman in 2015. He was in their SWAT defensive packages. This is where they bring in the extra safety in the box type of a thing. So, this kind of bandit, there's lots of there's lots of different terms that people use for that safety that moves around. It's very similar to what the 49ers do with Talanoa Hufanga. But whenever he got to the NFL, that just wasn't it. Just not what it was. They moved him from safety to linebacker as soon as the 49ers brought him in as an undrafted free agent. And he does a lot for Santa Clara community off the field. He's very, very active, does so many different things to help people in our community. He just fits. He is a complete fit culturally, personality-wise, exactly what the Niners want in a player. But again, the linebacking issues, it's just rough. If you look at his combined stats in the NFL, DFF has 60 career tackles, 1 tackle for loss, 1 quarterback hit, 1 sack. Now, last year, 2022, he had 325 special team snaps, 99 defensive snaps, which were one of the lowest, since he came in. In 2020, he had 194 snaps on special teams, 61 on defense. 2021, 545 special team snaps, 164 defensive snaps. Now, and not that this is how do I say this? The Chiefs game kind of showed his inefficiencies at the linebacker position. If you remember, Dre Greenlaw played the first half, then left the first half with an injury. The score was 14-13. Like, it was a close game, whatever else. Second half, good Lord. The 49ers got blown out by the Chiefs this year. And Patrick Mahomes is going to kill a lot of people, but as soon as that switch was made from Dre Greenlaw to DFF, good Lord. The game finished 44-23. They just went off. DFF had 36 snaps in that game in the second half. He got a 29 PFF score. They were going at him in the run game, passing game, and they just torched him. After that, didn't really get an opportunity to come back and play any defensive snaps really at all. And I think that's kind of what they are. If you look at the 49ers draft, they drafted not one, but two linebackers. And so I think that kind of plays a very important role. And they even brought in an undrafted free agent at linebacker who got injured and they moved on. But you could see the 49ers are bolstering the back end of that linebacking group, which I think the 49ers have the best linebacking group in the NFL. I think that the 49ers judge the linebacking position or scout or develop it better than any other position that the 49ers have. And so to say all those things and then say, I don't consider DFF a linebacker anymore. He's kind of a break glass in case of emergency type guy. That's one thing. But then you get to his contract. He signed a 1-year, $1.8 million deal. All right, that's a lot more than, you've got your Kerry Hyders and Miles Hartsfield, these kind of, journeymen in the NFL that, you're not quite sure where they fit. So that's a lot more in and of itself. But then you look at the guaranteed money, $1.2 million guaranteed. That's substantial. And on top of that, he's got a $14,000 roster bonus for every game he's active. So the money says he should be higher than 59. I'm just going to be honest. Very likely he's going to be on this 53-man roster and just be a special teams ace. That's not a bad thing. Now, the question becomes, how many special teams aces can you carry on the 53 when you have such a competitive roster? You got George Odom, the safety. He's very similar to DFF. He's a safety, but not really. They would prefer undrafted free agents to play safety ahead of him. He's just so damn good at special teams. That's what DFF is as well. Now, the one thing that I can say is, my initial thought was, man, we've got 4 or 5 special team aces. How can the Niners carry all that? But I don't think that's the way that it is. I think you have 2. Because you've got Odom, who's a special teams ace. You don't want to play safety. You've got DFF, special teams ace. You don't want to play linebacker. Last year, we had Oren Burks, but he's not that anymore. With Aziz departing, I fully expect Oren Burks to be the starting number 3 linebacker, the same linebacker. So he's no longer just a special teams ace. Samuel Womack, right? I think he's the best special teamer on the 49ers. He was last year for sure. But he is the first corner off the board at all 3 cornerback positions, both outside and the nickel guy. So Womack, even though most of his snaps are special teams, he's not just a special teams guy. You have no problem with Samuel Womack playing corner. Then you got Ray McLeod, returner specialist, whatever else. Not necessarily. He backs up Debo. So when I initially started going through the depth chart and trying to find a way for DFF to make this 53-man roster, I was doing mental gymnastics because I was like, there's no way you can carry 5 special teams aces. I don't think they're doing that. I think they just got to carry 2. And Odom and DFF, I think they have a role. And I think they have a pathway, especially with that contract. $1.2 million guaranteed, that was a shock to me. Maybe it was just a favor. Hey, man, you had such a great year last year. We want to take care of you financially. But we'll have to see what this looks like because I don't think DFF's going anywhere, and I don't want him to. Again, led the team in special teams tackles. That's something that you got to take, especially with the Niners who have had very poor special teams play since Kyle Shanahan showed up. Last year was an improvement, but still not good. So DFF's going to be around. Fun journey, fun player, fits the community, fits the culture, and I think he's starting to, in his 5th year, figuring out what his role is going to be in the NFL. And so excited to see DFF around, lurking on special teams. And for us, we're just going to keep counting them down.